Hello. You should be coming.
How was the traffic?
What's that?
How was the traffic?
Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
In Des Moines, it was quite bad.
Well, Tom had someone pulled over up here on South Division when we came.
Did you tell them we had a meeting? Did you do that?
Who, the cop? No. No,
Everybody was driving around in both ways.
yeah.
Shouldn't say him, I got hurt. Katie, I'm like,
Should what?
said it might be Katie, I said him. Might have been
I
her.
don't know.
I don't know.
I just seen the lights when we got out. Seems like a lot of traffic coming from that way.
Racist.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
What is it?
The races tonight.
Oh, great.
What? You don't like the noise of them?
Not just that, they all go by my house.
Well, you picked where you live.
Yeah, nobody warned me.
Hey, I like the sound of
By
them.
the house, run the stop sign by my house and keep on going.
You get on our roof and you can watch them.
Can you?
Yeah. On the back porch or the,
Sometimes if it's just right outside, I can hear the announcer out there and everything he says.
so can we. Yeah.
Then I go over and try to go back to sleep.
Just kind
Okay, to me, it's just natural.
Mm.
I mean, grew up with it.
I was gonna say, you've been here forever, but
Yeah. Ages. Hi. Call to order the Stuart Municipal Utilities Special Meeting, Council Chambers, tentative agenda, Wednesday, April 29th, 2026, 5:30 PM. Roll call. Sherman?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Belden?
Here.
Harry?
Here.
Avey here. Agenda approval.
Move. Second.
Okay, how do you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Belden?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Avey, yes. Okay, number 4, electric substation project financing. Chip, before you talk,
Do you want me to go last? Just offering that.
well, you can,
Either way.
I,
Up to you, of course.
it doesn't matter. It's up to you guys.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Before you talk, I've got something to say on this. I asked for a joint meeting tonight and it was denied. We voted to get back with the council in 2 months to discuss the TIF, but they wanted to do it at a regular meeting, which it wouldn't work for us because all of our board members would not be allowed because it would be a quorum and we wouldn't have an agenda. So I'll be here to the city council meeting. And, I don't know if anyone else wants to, but if they don't vote on the TIF for us, we need to figure out what way we need to go on this. So at our regular meeting that we have on the 14th, we're ready to vote on it, cause we've gotta get this going. Okay.
How was the joint meeting denied?
Corey denied it, the mayor.
Did not want to.
No.
Okay, there's gonna be some extras, but if you don't mind taking one and passing them down, that'd be great. So this material reviews the funding for the electric substation project. There are, I'll try to keep this brief and the interest of everyone's time. So if you go to the second page, Exhibit 1, This reviews, three different approaches for the financing. You've got an all-in project cost of $5,667,000, as noted in row 15. Scenario A, so board member Belden had found that 2% Iowa Energy Center borrowing for 15 years for a term.
Nice try, Chip.
That's
You-
been awarded.
Chip, you did all the work to get that application approved and
That's fine.
completed for us, so.
It's good that you got that. So what we want to try to do is take advantage of that low interest cost funding source. That has to close, that financing has to close by December 1st of this year. If it doesn't close, we lose that 2% money.
You said when?
December 1st.
Okay, so action in our May meeting would provide more than ample time to,
It would.
okay,
You bet.
thanks.
So scenario A has the 2% money for 2.5 million, assumes that 3.1 million is funded by, this has to be city council approved, a general obligation bond paid by TIF monies. Scenario B is the energy center loan plus 3.1 million of bond market electric revenue debt. Scenario C is all bond market electric revenue debt. That's kind of your base starting point for the financing. So I have left that in there just as a comparison point.
Can we go through, so scenario A is coupled with the city's TIF, is that right?
That's right.
And scenario
right.
B is the low interest loan money and
Yes.
raise in electrical rates to handle the bond if there's no TIF allocation.
That's right.
And then 3 is if we funded the thing by ourselves.
That's
without
right.
any- Okay,
In
thank you.
scenario A, is there still a rate increase with that? It's just less? Is that
There,
correct?
that's right.
Okay.
And then I don't have an answer real definitively on what that rate adjustment would be. I'm gonna have that together for your May board meeting.
Okay.
I think you're looking at something like a 4 to 12% cumulative overall over several years, 2 to 3% a year, over 4 to 5 years for rate adjustments.
That's scenario
So that'd be, 4 would be A,
A. Okay.
it'd be higher with, and I don't have that pinned down, so that's why I'm giving a range.
And that'll include the shared savings allocation as well.
You mean the franchise
Yes,
fee?
the
Yes,
savings
that's
account.
factored in, yes.
That's factored into the 4 to 12 range?
Yep.
Okay.
Your purchase power costs are going up, so I hate to be the bearer of bad news, that's just a continued
And we know
reality.
we're gonna have to raise it.
Just wanna keep them modest.
Right.
I know that's the board's charge, that's my task, and I'll make it work within those parameters, so. Second page, so this breaks out the project cost, includes the project cost plus interest, so this is your debt service cost breakdown. Initially, your standard starting point is to do all electric revenue debt for the substation project. That's kind of the normal way of doing things. What is included in scenario E is the general obligation bond scenario. With geo bonds, that pulls tax base away from the city's general fund. So that's roughly a 1/3 offset or loss to the city. So I show that as a negative number in column D. So the debt service costs are broken out in row 9 for scenario A. This is different orientation on purpose so that it's just not confused with the earlier page. Column E, scenario A on row 9, after taking into account the 1/3 offset, which is the impact of the city's general fund, the debt service cost with that approach is roughly $3.6 million. The Energy Center loan is about $2,945,000. So in total, your gross debt service cost consisting of principal and interest with the geo bonds paid by TIF and the Energy Center loan is $6,573,000 in column H, the yellow shading. With the Energy Center loan in row 11, scenario B, and bond market debt for the funding for the balance, same scenario from the prior page, your gross debt service cost in row 11 is about $8,059,000. So round numbers, $1.5 million higher than scenario A.
So row 9 is 6.6 million, so you're paying $1 million in interest, doing it that way, in scenario A over project cost?
Your gross debt service cost, factoring in the offset to the general fund,
Yeah,
is 6.6 million.
okay, so you
That's-
save $1.5 million by using TIF before any donation or grant back because of that loss?
In approximate numbers, I think that's about right. So if you look at column C, that's the gross amount of the GEO bonds, that's 5.4 million. Compare that to column G, in row 11, 5.1. The GEO annual appropriation bonds have a higher interest rate than your electric revenue debt would. But that's just the nature of the credit. What's an offset there is the impact on the general fund. So that's why I'm trying to arrive at that number in column E. So, 8.8 million is scenario C, just the pure bond market of electric revenue debt only. Now, what's been proposed is, because the city will see an impact on its general fund, instead of using electric fund cash toward project costs, what's been proposed is the utilities would make a contribution to the city's general fund. I've just got 3 initial scenarios here listed at the bottom of the page. Option 1, 250,000. Option 2, 500,000. And option 3, 750,000.
And that's an upfront contribution.
That's contemplated to be upfront.
Okay.
Yes. That's a question then for the city council and Mike and other members. City, I know there's budgetary constraints, salaries and so forth that I think everyone's aware of, but that's kind of that would be the appeal to the city, I think, with that scenario, with that approach. Then it's
So-
really just a negotiating point what the amount would be.
Okay, so we paid their general fund the 250,000, the 500,000, or the 750,000? So can we use to pay that, like, we still owe them about 400,000 for half of this building? So can we, like, go ahead and pay all that off and that would be included in this, or not?
That's a good negotiating point, really. So I think it's contemplated to be separate, because this is intended to isolate just the use of TIF for the substation only. That, related to the building, the 400,000, that's already in place, in existence already. So if you did 250,000, option 1, for this project, for the substation, plus the 400, that would take you to 650,000 total. When that 400,000 gets paid, it's currently contemplated to be paid over time. Sarah, gosh, I'm not sure, I quite remember the dates, but it's at least a many number of years yet to go on that. The next page, Exhibit 3, tries to give just the board I know this is a city council issue, but gives the board a review of how the functionality, kind of how the mechanics of TIF work. So the TIF works basically, it's the gross total levies in column D, less certain protected levies, debt service levies, school pebble, instructional support levies, gives you the net levies in column F in blue. So that $30.84, this assumes Guthrie County using FY 25-26 levies. That TIF levy is about $30.80. So the city's net levy is about 37%. That's where the approximate 1/3 has come from, that we've used in the past. And then the following page is these are more considerations for the city council, but it walks through on Exhibit 4. City council is obviously the issuer of general obligation debt. That'd be subject to their support through majority vote. It's assumed to be paid, debt service is assumed to be paid for with TIF dollars to tax increment financing. And the city council, of course, has to consider what other projects they plan to pay with TIF, for example, Front Street or White Pole Road. And then that would be subject to a reverse referendum because of the purpose. So if 10% of the number of voters that voted in the last citywide election sign a petition, it'd have to go to a referendum. Well, it's kind of a fallback case if that happens. And you could go back to electric revenue debt to fund the substation project. I think the board is generally on board with that project. One thing you could do, there's still contemplated legislative changes with TIF. One thing the council could do, again, entirely up to them, they could issue short-term general obligation debt. And then if there's a change legislatively from the State House, that debt can be refunded by electric revenue debt. So the city could take a couple of years to see if there's any legislative changes. If there are, refund that short-term general obligation debt with an electric revenue debt, and then you're back kind of on the normal course, and the city's not at risk in that scenario.
Couldn't this just be set up as a TIF debt instead of a GO debt?
It could, it's gonna be a higher interest rate and a
Think a
tougher credit to sell.
I think a lot higher.
I think it's probably gonna be at least 1%, perhaps 1.5%.
So then
It's
that
meaningful.
That cuts your savings even more.
It would.
I'm with you. Okay.
So then, these different types of, like TIF versus, or, utility bonds or whatever,
You bet.
are you talking the same term on those, like 20 years, or is there a difference in term, or is there options?
I kept the same term just to have it on a consistent basis, so it's apples to apples. So I've assumed 20 years.
But if the city didn't go along, I mean, we could maybe cash flow better with a longer term on the debt?
You could. You could. There's a 20-year limit under Iowa law on general obligation debt. There's not a year limit on electric revenue debt, but
Okay.
I wouldn't take too long to pay
Has the
off.
utilities ever financed anything over, well, besides the water lines for 40 years?
Right.
Outside of that, has there ever been a financing longer than 20 years?
The 2017 electric revenue debt has a final maturity of 2034. So that's, 17 years-ish.
Okay, so.
So these are concepts for the board to consider. I think then the purpose then is to go to the council and see if they're supportive. If the board wants to go the direction of pursuing these options.
And the vote requested from them would not be a lock, stock, and barrel, here's the final parameters for this. It would be conceptual or framework.
I think it'd be conceptual,
Yeah.
because I think they are probably gonna wanna take time to evaluate it and fine tune how it would be approached.
Yeah, so I mean, just like what Ken brought up as a question, it might be part of the discussion or whatever, and is all I'm getting at, is there might be could there be negotiations that will approve this framework, however, there's other things that people might come up with?
You bet, I think that could be, and then, your negotiating points are those contributions to the general fund,
Yeah, good point.
so.
So are you at that meeting on that Monday, whenever it is?
I'm planning to be, yes.
Okay.
I can't go to the June city council meeting, I just wanna make that clear right now. Cause I
No, I'm just
was
trying-
supposed to be somewhere else at the May meeting, and I'll be here at the city council meeting.
Should we consider negotiation on the TIF amount? Where, another scenario of splitting it down to, maybe they can provide 1.5 million of TIF.
Absolutely, that's certainly possible.
And what about shortening the term of which we're trying to capture TIF over as well?
It's nice to shorten it. The challenge with that approach, you don't have to go 20 years, but there's not a lot of TIF available from the city's perspective until after, fiscal year, it begins to be available in fiscal year 2030.
Right.
So it's limited TIF through FY '29.
What's the window to complete this project? If we hit the gas pedal today, it's a 2 or 3 year project, right?
Yeah, I think it's a 3-year project, Pat, I believe is correct.
Yes.
And the timing works well, whether you do, from a TIF standpoint, if the city council issues GO bonds paid by TIF, just because that wouldn't need to be issued until 2028, sometime in calendar '28. We can capitalize interest for the first year, so we can borrow the first year's interest if the city council wants to go that direction. So that gets you through the narrow TIF period through FY '29. So the timing works, and I've run that by the guys at DGR, and It's kind of why you need to get it going so we can not have it wait much longer.
So this project services everybody that's on Stuart Utilities. This project, this infrastructure improvement services
It would
everybody.
serve the stability, it provides stability to the entire electric system for the whole town,
So it
yes.
services everyone, and, you know, that's a major point to me,
Absolutely.
so hopefully that's under consideration when you're asking for that, but.
You bet.
I just wonder, well, you can tell me if I'm correct or not, but I think I am. And want to reiterate it for our group as well as hopefully the council understands is like if there's $100,000 of TIF that's able to be captured for a year and you're not using it for projects and things and you get to the next year, it's not like you saved something. You just lost that opportunity to capture that TIF. It drops off.
It's gone, that's right.
So the concept in this is like, if the city is not using it for a certain purpose, then having that ability to share that opportunity with another local entity to use that as well. So
I
it's
think
not like
it's
we're taking something that, my thought back to the council is, we're just hoping to utilize TIF that you guys aren't going to use so that the city as a whole doesn't lose out on an opportunity to utilize that mechanism.
That's correct.
And that money back to the city is their cost for allowing us to do that. They lose 1/3 of whatever dollar we take from them in TIF. So that's why we would share that, and then that savings is passed on to every person in the utility district. That's the mindset, and it saves an overall payback of, well, I mean,
The lower debt service, just in principal and interest terms, it's $1.5 million.
Yeah, $1.5 million savings with this request, and, you know, if you guys don't mind going back forward to what Sarah put out for us again, you know, there's probably some cash that we can use in our reserves for this project at some point as well. I mean, that you'll have for next meeting that you're talking about.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
I mean, we talk about raising rates like it's not a big deal, but if you consistently make money, like if you go over to our right-hand side of this Excel table that Sarah gave us, our water fund is at $3.1 million. Our utilities through 2025 is at $4.2 million. So we're holding $8 million of the citizens' money in reserves, and we're making what? I mean, I think these numbers changed. We're making several $100,000 of water fund, and the utility fund is going up $100,000 to $150,000. But it's getting smaller as far as what we're getting in that electric. It's hitting at a point of break even, it seems like, with the electric fund.
I will point out, you
So-
asked me to do this year, and I only have the information to date. Typically, we have a lot of debt payments to make right at the end of the year.
Okay,
So those
calendar
numbers are
year,
gonna
not
go
fiscal.
down.
Calendar year, not
Yeah.
fiscal. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I
Mhm.
disregarded 26.
That's why it looks great.
So if you go back to 2022, so we're all aware of this, we look at this thing, we don't ever talk about it. The water fund went to 7.7 million because we did that project in that year. It dropped by that same amount.
Bond proceeds.
Yes, so a stable amount of water revenue is 2.5 million in 2024, 2.5 million. We went to 3.1 million this year. So there's plenty of net income in the water side to prepay that 40-year bond if we wanted to. On the electric side, you can see from 2021, you got 3.8 million and you're up to 4.2 million in 2025. So each year you're about $100,000 of net income. You don't have as much as you do in the water fund, but Ash still and Sarah, everybody did a good job. We're kind of scared to say that our folks are doing a good job. We're quick to kick everybody, but sooner or later you got to see there's a lot of other communities that could be sitting in other
So I
situations.
wanted to have the electric cash flows ready for today. Sarah got me information and was very quick to get that to me. I just need more time than that, so please understand that. And,
But there is a
Thank you.
sweet spots for those reserves, where you're not accumulating too much, but where you have enough so that you maybe get preferred rates, or you can do larger projects and not have to do
That's right.
interesting financial things.
Is there a
Good way to put
number,
it.
I mean, how much of our electric reserve, do you know how much we could afford to use and keep our reserves where they need?
You know,
to
at
be?
one point toward the substation project, we had $1.5 million going toward that project cost.
Okay,
I haven't shown any cash toward construction in these because of the element of the potential contribution to the city's general fund. So I just wanted to do one way or the other and not confuse it.
So that contribution you're showing though, whatever we did, if it's the 250, that would be in addition to that 5.5 million.
The total project cost, it would be in addition to that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So it,
So if
to
we
say
need
in another,
700,000, then the difference is between 8 million and 7, you know.
that's right. It's in addition, so it's on top of those debt service cost numbers.
Gotcha.
You bet. Yeah, it's just, the thing too with your USDA debt, it's, one of the debts is at 1 7/8%, I think 1 2 1/4, 2 1/8. What are you earning in your bank account now?
So that's a great point.
Probably more than that for some portion. So maybe it doesn't, if you're earning 3%, it doesn't make sense to pay off 1 7/8% debt.
Right.
You've got a positive arbitrage there.
Just a point, I guess, Ken, since he's brought this up before, can you talk about IPATE, or whatever that's called, just high level?
Yeah, it's an available investment program where cities can put their funds that they have for cash in hand instead of a local bank, so.
So you're looking at a CD rate at 2%, and this is at what, 3.5, or a little bit?
I don't know.
It's fine, no, I'm just saying, the point is that
Right.
you put $6 and $8 million, obviously you don't put everything in there, but it's accessible, this isn't a CD. You throw that in there,
It's liquid.
and this was something that, Ash wanted to be at the local bank, that's fine, but, we got a changing of the guard, there's gonna be some minor changes. If we could take a portion of that and make interest income on it, we should, so.
And it's not like a stocks or bonds
No,
thing.
no,
Okay.
No, it's-
Set rate?
yes.
But it changes every day.
Oh,
I
it
just
changes
want to,
every
yeah,
day.
it does.
What affects that rate?
Just the interest rate environment in general and what they invest their funds at.
Okay, so it could go up or down either way.
It could.
But we won't lose no money by doing it.
No.
Okay.
It's at 3.43% as of today.
Anyway, just something to think about, when you're sitting on that kind of money, what the power of 3.5% is on, even 5 million of the 8 that's sitting there, so. So I think the request is a vote in the May meeting, and then we look at stuff off of your rate, scenarios and presentation on the following Thursday. Is that where we're at?
I believe so. It's really up to you as a board, where you'd like to go.
If the city doesn't agree to go that rate, then we should be looking at how do we fund this ourselves?
Yes.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And just for your information, Corey and Kim did have a discussion with Marquita. She would like to present an update at a joint meeting on the regularly scheduled utility board meeting day, so that's May 14th. So the city council and the utility board will be together on May 14th.
Is that our?
But that
meeting?
don't have,
That's your meeting date.
yes, but that don't have nothing to do with this.
I'm just letting you know, that you will be sitting at the table with the city council at a joint meeting on May 14th.
It could, if you wished.
So why wouldn't this,
We've been putting this off. We asked the city council, we gave them 2 months to look at it, give them time to look at it. Granted, I canceled the joint meeting that we had set before our utility meeting last month because my dad passed away. Then Trevor's mom passed away, so it's kind of been hectic. And I asked to have it tonight. We've got to get on it. We've got to quit messing around. We've got to get on it. So,
you would be at that 14th meeting, from your perspective, is it better just to not discuss this on the council meeting time and just wait till our joint meeting and just add this to it?
What would you think as a council member, Mike?
What?
Not to
I'm
put you on
sorry,
the spot.
what?
I don't know.
Evidently, there's a joint meeting on the 14th we're just finding out about. And so the question is, this is a request from the board to the council. Is it better to have this content under that meeting agenda
It makes sense to me.
on Thursday. Or
Or instead of your regular meeting.
on the
May 14th is a Tuesday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
That's our,
Oh, I might
That's
be in
our
May.
regular meeting, but we're having, Marquita wants to have a joint meeting with the city council and us that night to discuss this stuff, other stuff,
I'll try to get it off.
so.
I
So-
work that night, I mean,
so I guess I have one other question. So this TIF money wouldn't be available for 3 years or 2 or 3 years?
I've assumed a 2028 issuance date for the
So
city.
even if we didn't convince them to go along with it, say, today, 2 years down the road, maybe it makes more sense to them.
It could.
You
Okay.
can't, you
Just-
can't,
but just
ret-
know
you
that
can't
there's-
retro TIF payments on projects that are already done though. If the project's already done, you have to go through your urban renewal process beforehand.
If you, I think the city council would want to get the public hearing held in their financing, so that there's no petition filed, so they know they have a clear path forward. The fallback always is the board issues electric revenue debt. So there are options. I'd get the public hearing in place this year though, if the council, from the council's perspective.
Does that allow flexibility in amounts and things like that?
It does.
Okay.
It's just a public hearing, gives the city authority to proceed when they're ready, if they choose to. It doesn't require them to do anything in the future. It just gives them a path forward.
Mike, what's the truck stop developer requesting total amount in TIF? Or Chip, do you know?
I don't know, I hear so many things, so I don't usually
Okay,
say anything until I know for
I
sure.
think there are options that'll be presented to the council on May 11th.
well, I thought the last time it was discussed in a meeting was over 3 million, total over
That
20
was,
years.
that was the first one.
So, so 3 million to a truck stop developer, or 3 million to every resident in the community to service a, significant piece of infrastructure that saves everybody $1.5 million. I guess.
I have no comment.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking about, I didn't know what that number was. That's why I was asking about what they were asking for.
Curious, could they make,
That was the initial request.
if they've got that document in place after the next meeting, and there's no petition and stuff like that, could they go on a year-by-year basis and say, hey, we're going to contribute to this funding on a yearly basis? And we kind of adjust as we move forward on a yearly basis as well on what we do with rates. I know there's some unpredictability in there, but it would give that entity the opportunity to say, hey, we're not fully committed for like years and years, but we could, say that we're committed, but if something comes up, we can pull back and then you can raise electric rates and things like that if needed.
I think you've got to have a fully funded project no matter what. So
But if we're-
the city council would issue one general obligation debt to make sure you have a fully funded project. There has to be a bond issue, and I don't think they want to do several bond issues. It's more cost effective to do one.
You said they could do a shorter term one,
They could do a short term,
and then,
yes.
but if they did say a 5-year thing,
Sure.
after 5 years, could they issue another one if they chose to stay involved?
They could.
Okay,
They'd have to issue another one to pay off that short-term debt.
okay. So we wouldn't have to put that on them, like you said, a little less risk for them if things change.
It is.
Maybe they'd be more
Flexibility,
amenable.
so I think that if I were them, I'd feel more comfortable with more flexibility.
Okay.
The question again goes back to, do you present this to them on the 11th or the 14th? So, we never got a resolution on what people recommend on that.
I think it's gonna be the 11th. I think it's probably gonna have to be both. I'm thinking about that more now, because there was I'll have to be here on the 11th for the truck stop discussion.
But this would need to be discussed till the 14th, right?
I don't know. It's up to you guys. I think it could wait.
You just want to add it to our joint meeting, Jim? And then they vote, and we'll have our information anyway. We can have that as the joint meeting criteria along with the hiring update, and we go into a regular meeting and we have his rate study after that anyway.
From what I was told, this is gonna be on their agenda for Monday night, right? So they'll probably have a vote by then.
Or they'll have time to consider it and then get back to you.
My guess is, if I were the city council, just looking at it from their perspective, if they're expecting it to be on the agenda for May 11th, and there was a discussion at the utility board meeting that pushed it to May 14th, might not set very well with them, just to be candid about it.
Right, yeah.
Well, we've already been to them 2.5 months ago with this. It hasn't changed since then, has it?
It was just dropped, I mean, there wasn't, it was a concept, and that's why I don't want that, it shouldn't be presented in such a way that it's a lock, stock, and barrel. Here's A through Z components of it, it's a framework idea, right? I mean, there's gonna be steps along the way that are required,
There would be.
so.
I mean, it's up to them if they wanna vote on it on Monday, but they could also say, well, let's push it to the agenda on our joint meeting on Thursday, and they have the flexibility to do so, so.
Right.
I'm just saying, if the questions that Kim brought up about this additional loans, participation, that haggling and discussion is gonna have to happen in a joint meeting, right?
Right.
So.
If we have to put it on the joint meeting, we can. I just wanna get it
I get what your
as
point is.
close as
Yeah.
we can get it finalized this month.
But if we sit here,
Cause we've been working on it how long?
yeah,
We've gotta get going on it. 5 years?
5 years.
We've been working on it 5 years.
Okay. I'll assume it's on both meeting agendas for the
there you
city
go.
council.
Okay.
Thanks, Chip.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Chip.
Okay. Number 5, Thea Management Consulting Update. I have a little problem with this. And I may be wrong, but we both agreed, both boards agreed to pay half to hire Thea. She's been doing an awesome job as far as I can see. Utilities has kind of been left out of it, is how I feel. I called last week or the week before, I don't remember, and asked how it's coming along. I get told that we have an 80-page report. And I was asked by Marquita, well, you probably got the report, didn't you? And I said, no, didn't know nothing about it. I finally got the report. I asked Sarah for the report. She sent it to me. I printed it off. I sat and read the whole 80 pages. I don't agree with some of the stuff that they said about the utilities because we are our own entity. I've been told 3, 4 different times, and the board was told at one time, the whole board was told, that maybe we just need to go out on our own. I have been working on talking to Steve, talking to Chip, about us going out on our own. Will we be able to afford it? What do we have to do? And I've been working on this, I probably talked to you, 6, 7 months ago about it? And I've been in contact with Chip about it. And a little information about the utility board. And I spent time on this too. Back in 1947, the utilities used to be under city. Back in 1947, they had a town vote because the city council had bankrupted the utilities. And they had the city vote to depart from each other, right? Am I right so far?
To establish a utility board of trustees to oversee.
Right,
utility.
okay. So there's a state law that the mayor has to recommend someone to be on the utility board, and then the city council has to vote on who is on the utility board. The only way to beat the state on that is you have to find the documentation from that vote. Well, I have talked to the county attorney in Guthrie County. I've talked to the not the attorney, the auditor. I have talked to the Dare County auditor, and I've talked to the state auditor. What happened was Guthrie County, back then, everything was done with Guthrie County, even though we're two different counties. Guthrie County had a fire in their courthouse. They lost all the paperwork. So we're stuck. We can't do nothing like that. But I've had, and you guys were told also at one meeting, maybe we just need to go on our own. I've been told that 3 or 4 times. So, you know what? It's up to you guys. I've talked to Chip to ask him if we can afford it, to hire a general manager and maybe a part-time or a full-time, another person. Have Ashley, since she is considered our billing clerk. Have Ashley and another part-time person or a full-time person if we would need it. I don't know what else to say. If you have any questions for Steve, you can ask him questions, you can ask Chip questions. I mean, I've been in contact with both of them.
Well, if we went it alone, how would members be appointed to a board?
We still have to go through city council for that because we cannot
Okay,
pass the state because I can't come up with the paperwork.
okay, so we're just talking employee-wise, we
Yes.
would be on our own then?
Right. We would pretty much be our own bosses, right?
Yeah, in essence, you are. It's just, you've chosen, as I understand it,
Yes.
to work with the city, share employees, share Ash's time, perhaps Sarah's, and bear some of the costs.
Now, according to the Zoom meeting yesterday, now get me wrong, Marquita said that she has never dealt with a town that has had their own utilities as a different entity from the city, right? Is what she said. And she can, no, I'm asking you, did I understand that right?
She has never worked, she's never done an organizational review for another town that had shared employees that received part of their pay from the utility.
Okay.
And part of their pay from the city.
Okay.
And so her assistant contacted our auditor, and then he called me and he said, yes, they have never seen this before, but our auditor has worked with other towns that are structured the same way that we are.
So-
Okay, but also, what I got from it was, she was saying that the city was over us. Am I not understanding something correct here?
Well, they are in a sense, since they basically appoint the members.
Right, but it was like,
We're a codified board though, and a codified, utilities for water and electric, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so.
there was a vote establishing the utilities back in. as you pointed out.
47.
I had you do the homework, at least give me the ballot. So it was established by vote, so there's 2 mechanisms under Iowa law. A lot of cities in the metro area control their own utilities, city council does. Des Moines Water Works is its own separate utility. It was created the same way you are. They have all their own employees. So a utility has to manage its functions, right? So you need employees to put in the pipes and fix leaks and so on. So how you do that though is up to the board. And it seems as though you have a history of sharing employees with the city, some employees with the city. And by that I mean they're doing the work, you're sharing the cost. You can hire your own administrator. You don't need to revoke and do that. But of course, you call Chip to figure out if you can afford it.
right,
And those are the issues.
So, just before I'm sorry, the joint cost between the city and utilities for Ash's position was $152,000, of which we paid $84,693 of. So if you pull that money from that position, that will directly cause the city to have to do something, right? I don't know what they do, right? But that's gonna cause a problem. Yeah, the money's sitting there, but it's being peeled off of someplace else. I mean, ideally, we're one town, we work together, we hire and fire this position. As was done when Ash was hired, I asked Sarah to find the resolution, which she did, because it's right here. When Ash was hired in June of 1994. So we've showed the ability to work together, we've showed the ability to be efficient and share resources. I just don't know if we can continue to what you said, because of what you said.
I think the issue's hiring, this hiring process, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because for like, they gave us, Marquita sent us a update on when we're gonna do the interviews. And I read at the very bottom, it's the city council that's gonna have the last vote for this person. Okay, so why should it just be the city council? Cause the utility board should be involved in it too, because they're paying part of their wages,
So can
most of their wages.
When you have, I don't wanna forget to reflect on the call that I had with, did everybody else get a call from Marquita or not?
Yeah.
Okay. So when was that?
Mine was, I'm gonna say, a week ago or a little more.
Okay, so there were grumblings about a posting. Have any of you seen the job posting?
No.
Okay, I found the job posting. Ironically, the next day, 12 hours later, I get a call. What would you like to see this person do? Blah, 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 blah. Here's the salary range already posted online. Zero input did this board have in the posting or the salary range, period. Because the calls to us were after. So that's my concern, is what is the framework? What are the requirements? Where do we derive the salary range? I would have thought we would have been a part of that process. That's where I'm frustrated personally. The call also resulted in, her thought is we would have a dotted line to the city administrator and the council would have a direct line, meaning we would not hire or fire the city administrator, however, we would leverage their resources or their work. And I called Ash last week and I asked him, I said, when you were set up, were you hired and fired by the board and the council? And that's what this is, that she's shared. So,
Ideally, it'd be more than just a resolution reference in a minute. I would recommend going forward that these things are all set out in an agreement between the city council and the utility board. What happens in the event the board is dissatisfied with their services? And address all of those comments. A resolution approving the hiring of Ash back 30 years ago, however long it was, with no meat to it, doesn't provide the answers to those questions.
Sure.
Should Ash have not worked out, obviously, he did good work for the city.
Right.
But you're at that crossroads now where I think a conversation between the city and the utility board to figure out, number one, you already committed to 50-50, it sounds like.
That's just sharing of the cost for Marquita. That has nothing to do with the go-forward position. But my point is if we stay in the game under the pretext of this salary sharing agreement, to what Kim said, then the wheels fall off if we're not part of the I guess that's the question to the board. Every board member is, what do you view yourselves and your role in to this position? Are we vested or are we out of it because we view that as something to the council?
Well, I
The way-
suppose if we're unhappy with their choice, we would still have to vote.
No,
We don't. That's the
No.
whole point.
no, they're
we
not
don't
gonna
have to.
give us the
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, this
So-
would have been a good conversation when you agreed to the 50-50.
That was Marquita's understanding of your relationship, but she doesn't really understand the relationship between the utility board and the council.
Okay, but shouldn't that have been understood before we made job postings and comments about the role of the utility board to set a salary range?
I would have to go back and reread the proposal. I don't know if all of that is laid out in there. The proposal was approved. She was given the green light to go forward. So
But I'm just saying, 3 months go by and this is where we're at. I don't think that's good business. That's just me.
I will tell you that she did give us a timeline for the interview process, and she wants 4 groups that are made up of 2 council members and 2 board members
Mhm.
and some other people that typically work with the city administrator. So she was planning on including you in the interview process.
But she But if you read at the bottom of this, it says, council enters closed session, receive feedback from panelists, deliberate and consider offer to a candidate. It's council, that's not including utility.
The other, another thing to consider here, we're not an anomaly. Guthrie, I've contacted these places, Winterset, and one on their website, Winterset, what was the other one? Atlantic. Winterset, Atlantic, Guthrie, and Greenfield all have mutually exclusive city and utility boards. Voted in, very similar to us. We're not an anomaly that way. So.
You mean the utility?
And I haven't seen what was presented to you, in all fairness. And I know Marquita, she's been a city administrator in the metro and surrounding communities.
I'm not saying she's doing something wrong, I don't think all the information's getting to her,
Or back to us.
or back to us, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying she's doing anything wrong. I don't think everything is getting to her and not getting back to us.
Has somebody talked to Marquita? I could certainly call Marquita
I'm
and
talking,
address a
we
lot
did
of
a
this.
Zoom meeting with her yesterday,
Okay.
Corey and Sarah and I. And the only way I found out about the Zoom meeting was when I found out about this 80-page thing. I asked Sarah for it the other day, which would have been Monday, that you printed it, you sent it to me? Yeah, it was Monday, so I got it Monday. I read 40-some pages Monday, read the rest of it yesterday morning, and that's how I found out about the Zoom meeting, was at that time, when I got this.
I've been involved with a lot of hiring processes, so I will tell you, it's not unusual in the governmental setting to have, multiple groups meet with each candidate and develop their opinions. The board certainly has the authority to do a closed session if a candidate were to request it, as does the council. You're both operating under the same rules for closed sessions. There's methods of addressing this. It seems as though there needs to be a conversation with how do we move forward and get it done. The reality we all have to recognize is the city needs a city administrator. So if you're not on board with their candidate, I don't know that they want. Somehow we gotta figure out how to make the meld if the utility board's still gonna, and the city, wanna share the cost. I can't think of an idea as to how to, if you disagree on a particular candidate, how that's gonna work. But certainly the conversation, it seems like we can get through this.
Right.
With a conversation with probably Marquita and Sarah and
I
whoever
wanna
else
think of
needs
this
to
from
be.
an employee perspective. If you've got an employee that's like a contracting employee,
Mm-hmm.
they could contract with us and contract with the city separately. And it would be within their purview to do that. But in a case of this type of sharing, one entity has to be the sponsoring entity where ultimately that employee is the employee of that entity, and then they share to the other entity, right?
If you're gonna share, yes, that's
Yes.
typically the way it's done.
So my thought is always with Ash and whoever else has been shared is that the city has been the sponsoring entity. It doesn't mean we don't have authority or say in what happens. We have a say in whether or not we want to agree to that sharing or how much we want to share. You know, or do we need 25% of an employee or 50%, and how much are we dealing
But
with?
the
the
council
cost of
can't
that
make that
employee?
decision unless
No,
they
right.
know we're on board because of the cost
But there
sharing.
has to be a sponsoring, so the city can do what, to me, the city could do what they want with hiring a city administrator. And then they choose to share that employee with us or somebody else.
But the current structure is, we're paying
Right.
60% of that
Right,
cost.
so if they want to continue that sharing agreement and have us agree to it, then they better have
Work
our
with us.
input and work.
That's
with us.
all I'm getting at,
Right.
yes,
Right.
correct, yes, but, and that's not been the way this has played out, is what she's getting at, and based on the call that I had, I wasn't happy with the responses I got.
But to me, we couldn't, if Ash was still sitting at the table, we couldn't fire Ash. We could say, we're done with the sharing agreement.
Yeah,
Right.
Ash would have been hired and an employee, his main employer, his primary, would have been with the city. Where if the city decided to fire Ash, then Ash would have been fired and,
We're out of an employee.
right, so that's what I mean by sponsoring
that
an
makes sense,
employer,
yeah.
and then, you know,
I would correct a little bit on
Okay.
that. Only to the extent, as I may recall 5 minutes ago, I do think you can have an agreement that outlines all the things. What happens if you're dissatisfied, the city's dissatisfied?
And that's not in place today, good point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You're saying
I
improve this.
assume it's just a resolution, minute entry probably, that you have
Yeah.
back 30 years ago. And it doesn't spell out anything as to what happened, so we're speculating how that would have worked to some degree. But he was hired as the city administrator, no doubt.
Yeah.
So,
Great point. So the next board, the next council don't have this problem. Get something in place during this process now.
yeah,
In
we'll
writing.
share 50, whatever
Well,
the
I mean,
number
I mean,
is.
an agreement,
Yeah.
to your point. Yeah, that's a better way to do it. When you hand the torch to another group, there's no question on, what that person's doing and what their role is and how they were hired. This is a motion. He told me there was a resolution, but I don't know. I mean,
Well, I'd love to.
but I don't know if that includes anything, right? I mean, it could
Right,
just be
right,
a-
we don't know.
So, anyway.
But I'd love to look at it because it does go to whether or not there is a sharing agreement. Ash is gone.
Mm,
So your sharing agreement was with Ash, or relative to Ash's hiring.
Right.
So is there currently a sharing agreement at all? Without seeing those resolutions, it's difficult for me to give you an opinion on that, but I suspect it ended with Ash. Ash is leaving
yeah,
or
I've
retiring.
been viewing this as a whole new contract and
Right, so this is the opportunity to clean it up, right?
So can you get him those resolutions?
I will look. I was asked to find, when Ash was hired, he was hired as the clerk, and then he was later made the administrator.
Okay, yeah.
So he was hired by motion, but I can see if there was a resolution when his position changed.
Okay, and then the sharing, is that in a resolution, do you know?
I don't have a resolution, I only have the motion from when he was hired.
Okay, and when he was hired, that's when the sharing is referenced, right? No?
No.
Okay.
So do we need to have something outlined before this joint meeting? If we're not if we're dissatisfied?
I don't know that it's, to what Kim had said, I don't know if it's a dissatisfaction or a lack of being we don't know
Lack
how,
of
we don't know what all's
transparency?
been going on, right?
Right.
I just got this report tonight.
So that's more of a lack of transparency,
Cor-
by my
I agree.
understanding.
Yeah, that's completely what I would agree with too. So this report may have a bunch of great ideas in it.
Mhm.
You hire a new city administrator that's let's just say they're under the same structure as Ash. They may not agree with half of these things, right, or any of them. Our employees may or may not agree with them. There may be reasons that things work or don't work. The new administrator may have better ideas, may come from a board council environment. I don't know.
Well, and I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I thought maybe Marquita is the one that has suggested the structure that's being proposed based on a misunderstanding perhaps of how.
I think she's just not familiar with the close collaboration between the utility board and the city council.
Okay.
I haven't even read it yet.
No,
And I'm
neither
not
does
saying
God.
it's her, I'm not, at all. Because I've been very, she's been very decent with me, talking to her and stuff. A lot of my problem, and it may just be me, but I'm tired. I've been told, I know the board's been told once, cause it was in a joint meeting, maybe we just need to go on our own. I've been told 3 other times that.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And that's
And-
an option.
The city council and utilities did not get along because of one other board member we used to have, because he pretty much told the city council one night that he didn't use the word, but he him-hawed around about it and called them idiots. So I've been trying to work on that to get us all back together. So we don't have no, problems. Cause the more we could work together, this is my feeling, the more that we could work together and help each other out, the better off we are,
I couldn't agree more. We're serving the same people. right?
But I'm tired of getting told, well, maybe you just need to go on your own. I'm trying to make it so we can all work together.
So where are people at with the concept of we pay for services but have no input in who's providing those services.
I don't, I mean, I think if we're gonna be paying for the services, we should have input, you know?
I agree with that point as well. And if we're paying for services and don't have input, then I
Then
agree
we
with
go
Kim.
out on our own.
I agree with Kim, yeah, it looks as a.
Yeah,
But I think we should be upfront with the council on that, because there's a
course.
financial risk to the taxpayers of $84,000 bucks. Right?
exactly.
And hope to gosh we can,
I mean, I don't want no animosity with, you know,
Exactly.
between the two entities.
right,
And
You
I
know,
don't
we all
either.
have the same purpose,
Right.
serve the, you know, citizens. So, I mean, but we need to be transparent with them on our feelings and let them know, you know, hey. And then maybe something that we do get something outlined in writing about this shared. You know, we need this much input, you know, and we need to be heard. If not, then, okay, we'll go out on our own, find our own person.
And it seems like a good place to start, in my view.
Yeah.
what,
Have
so
the
is that within
conversation.
our wheelhouse of the code, with the utility code, how we're set up, are we?
You may recall there was a conflict of interest analysis.
Right.
One of the members of the council apparently is an employee of the board, if I remember, or of the utility. It couldn't be clearer that the entities are separate. There is a component of city control, appointing members to the board. There's some restrictions on bond issues, as far as the board is concerned. But primarily, the utility operation is all under the purview of the board. So certainly employment is part of that. It's a great concept for smaller utilities and smaller cities to share employees. You save costs for the ratepayers and the taxpayers at the same time. Sometimes that can't happen. I've seen disputes where the two can't get along. But communication, in my experience, is the only way to get through it. And knowing Marquita's history around the metros, this is an unusual scenario in the metro area. You have Des Moines Waterworks and West Des Moines Waterworks. The rest of them all are operated by the city council. And she's been at cities that didn't have a separate utility board. So I kind of think there's probably been a misunderstanding on her part, but that said, you know, the council may want to go on its own. I don't know where the communication breakdown's been. So I'm happy to facilitate anything I can.
Do you have any sample agreements? Have you ever drafted one for a shared employee?
For shared employees, I'm sure we could find one.
It'd be nice to just
I
kind of
know
see
one of
what it
Yeah.
involves.
the outlier metro cities just did one. So I can get you one of those. Some of them share equipment, you know, just depends on what all you need. I don't know if you buy your own trenchers or what all y'all do, but,
Utilities pays for that.
okay.
We just bought one.
Okay. So, and maybe the city uses it, so then the sharing can go back and
City
forth.
uses it?
I mean, at any rate, yes, an agreement between the utility and the city relative to all of those things would be good to consider. Of course, some guidance as to how the sharing works and termination, as you mentioned, would need to be part of that. So I can get you a sample, you can look at it, and we can talk about refining it to what fits you.
Sounds good to me.
So how do we uplift this to,
Would you like me to talk to
right to
Marquita?
ship, that's what I'm
I
getting
don't know
at,
how to help you in your present situation. It sounds like you're having a joint meeting on the 14th, though.
Yeah, and she'll be here the 14th.
should Steve come to that for direction?
I think so, yeah,
I'm happy to listen
if
in
you're
and
able.
help any way I can.
So what do you others think?
I think
You're
it's
just
good
sitting there.
I mean, we are in a sense hiring, if they hire an employee that we're not happy with, or they don't fulfill all the things that we need, if they're not working with us to understand what we need, then we don't participate. And they need to know that we're sitting here wondering about that option right now. we'd like to, I'm getting the sense that we'd all like to continue with the sharing agreement because we think it's beneficial, like you
Financially,
said.
and, yeah, that's what's worked for 30 years.
But we
and
don't wanna
hopefully
be
maintain
put
it.
into a corner where we're made to make a decision, like, we have no input on who this employee was, or, you know, what the structure was, and what the new, I mean, we're designing a whole new concept on what the duties are and things like that, and if the utilities isn't part of that conversation, I don't know how this person's a real shared employee, if someone else is dictating to us what those terms are.
There's no reference to the utilities in the job posting. I can send you the link.
Yeah, could you do that?
Yeah. So. But I don't know how much our city code, there's Mr. City Code guy. Is there any reference to the utilities in the current city administrator job posting? I don't think. So, I mean, you know, we got it wrong 30 years ago, might as well get it wrong now, right?
Well, you might see a candidate they don't like that you wanna hire.
I mean, how does the applicant even know there's a utilities, you know, board or department, right? That's.
Right, and that would be part of their duties. And,
Correct.
you know, they should have some familiarity with chips.
So that would be the level of
chips area.
input, that's the measurable level of input that the board has had. It's nothing's in the posting related to us, and we have a 60% financial obligation to the position. So
But you
it's not he said, she said here, there's measurable, you know, unbiased trends here of information. You just got this report when?
Monday morning.
Okay.
Sarah sent it to my email and I printed it out at home.
So that's what we're trying to get right shipped or whatever you wanna call it.
Right, right. And there's nothing saying you can't repost.
Well, that's what I know, but then we're just, you know, duplicating, right? I mean, we're
Right,
starting
right.
over, but.
Right, right. And have the utility section and, I mean, there's a few ways to skin in the cat, but I'm sure you're anxious to get the city's anxious for a city administrator, you're anxious for.
Right,
It'd just
to
be
get it
best if
done.
Assistance on your
Just
end.
be best if we all work together to, you know, make, you know, one person over, you know, replace Ash, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That would be the most logical thing to do. Work together to do that and cover questions and all.
how do you drive that?
I think it goes back to what Dan said, and I don't, I mean, and just being upfront about it, like what you had said is, you know, where is our line? Our line is if you pick somebody we don't like, we still have to vote on this person based on past presidents, right? There's a motion here. They can make that motion, but we don't have to, or we can, you know, I don't know, right? There's a motion right there. So there's past precedents of what was done before that. How do you get that going? Dennis, I don't know. I mean, you be up front on the 14th. Is that when the interviews are? Or when are the interviews?
The interviews started April 17th and they're over May 17th, right?
The application period closes May 17th.
Yes.
The interviews will be on May 30th.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
And
meant
that's a
yeah.
Saturday.
May 17th is when they're,
Is
When
that-
they close, I meant the applicants.
Yeah.
And yeah, May 30th is a Saturday.
So
okay, so, but we'll have our joint meeting, so that can be, we can share those thoughts in that joint meeting, correct? We can just say
Yes.
that this needs to be a shared effort, and like I said, it goes back to me, to the posting, right? There's nothing in there, no feedback obtained, we get feedback after that's out there, that's a concern to me. That's, you know, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. I'm sure if that's part of their duties.
Well, that's what I mean, and if you talk to Ash about his percentage of time, 1 week it'll be 70% utilities and 30% city. I mean, it's not 20% utilities and 80% city. I mean, there's a very much, you know, an ongoing workload split between both of them.
And you have a substation that I overheard as I
Yeah.
was in here.
Yes.
Right. You got a lot of big issues the utilities dealing with. And I'm sure the city has the same, so. I'm happy to attend, just let me know if you want me out here.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt.
I do.
And, you know, I'd love to look at those resolutions, and Ash's hiring resolution.
This was it, this is all you could find?
from when he was initially hired, I know he was later promoted to administrator, I will look for that.
Okay.
Okay.
If there's any
It's
agreement.
just a motion. It's welcome to have it, but there's nothing there.
So I can talk intelligently.
But so, I guess one of the biggest concerns that's always been raised to me about this position is there's no city residency requirement. And it's not in the job posting. City limit requirement, right, a residency. And at some point, I'd like a vote on that, being a requirement. I don't care if it goes up, well, I do care if it goes up or down, but we have been told for years that there was a requirement made previously. And if you go back to the actual records, there's no vote on that.
I feel like it's referenced in the code, but I'll look into it. and
No,
let you know.
I had been told, and others have been told that there were votes, a requirement of residency, and there never was. So to me, that's an important thing.
I was told that when Dave Fry was on here, that when they hired him, he was required to move to town, and I don't know how true this is, and that he would be happy to move to town, and that council did not push it. He never moved to town, and that council did not push
And
it.
see, to me, I'll just share this because I really don't care, but I think one of the huge factors of whether I could vote for somebody or not is if that's upheld and that's part of the hiring stipulations. I wouldn't approve a posting if that wasn't required. We're able to require that as part of city code, and that's been established time and time again. So, that's something that I have a strong conviction about. It doesn't mean that everybody else does. But, when that vote can happen, I could make that motion tonight under this agenda item. Or if you want me to wait till the May joint meeting, I don't care, but, just a thought, I
thought it was part of the conversations and however many years ago that it's still up for grabs of whether or not that's legal or not.
no, Iowa League of Cities years ago validated that it is. You cannot, someone in the school
For
system.
this type of position.
Correct. Now, a school professor, or a school teacher or administrator, you cannot. But city employees, you can, and this one included. So that's just something that's important to me. Like I said, it doesn't need to necessarily carry over to everybody else, but
I mean, I feel like they should live in town, because that's a lot of the complaints I've heard about Ash all these years, is that he don't live in town, he did not support this town. He did support this town, he ate here, so he kinda supported it, but that's what a lot of the town people have complained about the whole time with Ash. That they did not make him move to town.
I think the prior boards have done a very, very good job of hiring folks that do live in town or have moved to town and put back into the town. If you think of Mrs. Sloss, think of Wayne Gilman, Craig Pauley, everybody knows these people. They're teachers that have lived in this town for generations and yada, yada, yada. So, Samantha Crawford. So, anyway.
So you've already got a posting out there, how do you get it in there?
That's my concern, Dennis. That's why I guess that was my own personal concern. The order of events don't make sense. So you could have people apply for this position that there's no city residency requirement in there. So is the appropriate time for that motion now?
Can we do that?
We're discussing the update right now. The management consulting update.
You can certainly impose that restriction. I don't know about when I'd recommend timing, but that's a matter of politics for y'all.
I don't care about politics. I care about facts.
It also, I just point out that limits your candidate pool, and there's also the practical aspects. When you hire somebody, they have presumably a house someplace else, and they have to sell it before they can buy a house in another location. So I've seen it suspended quite a bit in other communities when they hire people.
And I really don't have a problem of 15 minutes away like we do with our utility workers. They can live 15 minutes away, right?
Yep.
As long as they're 15 minutes away, they can live 15 minutes away. That would give someone to live in Earlham, Dexter, Menlo, it don't have to be Stuart, but hopefully they would do something here in Stuart.
Well, for me, I think it's more important that they're involved in the community than they actually live here. that they spend more time than the time they
Exactly.
spend in City Hall here. So if that person did live in, say, West Des Moines, but they were here for city events and things
Yes.
like that, that would be enough. My concern is more involvement than where they actually.
Can you share an example of an employee that you've seen that would be the case?
What do you mean?
That they've lived in West Des Moines and they've been active in our community and been employed by, I'm just asking, I've never seen it, that's why I asked.
Well, I've seen it with, for example, maybe even not city-wise, but like teacher-wise, where a lot of teachers live in other towns, but everything goes on at that local school, they're there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking
gotcha.
about.
But you can't make them.
You can't really, but, well, you kinda
Sure you
can
can.
when you redo your reviews every year.
No, you just don't hire them unless they live in the community where they have an agreement. It's just like the great, a license requirement. They either, so if you remember, we had an EMS director, we gave an extension until, because there's a property sale involved. So but they were required to show verification of that. And that worked out just fine. I don't know, like I said, that was a separate issue, tangent, but something on my
Well,
list I didn't see in that job posting.
In
like-
that respect, I think that's the conversation that we need to have with the council before we would vote on it too. Just like some of these other things.
I don't know if the council saw the job posting before it went out. I mean, I don't know.
It's a conversation we should have with them.
Did you and Corey happen to see the job posting before it went up?
She had sent out a draft.
To who?
Corey and Sarah, right?
I don't have my computer in front of me, probably.
I didn't get anything. So,
What do you
my
recommend
opinion,
is-
I agree with Dan, I think we should, that
It's a
should be discussed with the board. Be one of the stipulations. I think that it just creates that transparency with,
That's fair, good point. I'm fine with that. Then it's a shared discussion and
yeah,
If we just
shared vote.
If we just vote, that may make all
Makes
the
us
Yeah.
decisions
yeah.
harder.
right.
Yeah, that's fair, good point.
Anything else?
I just don't want either entity to drift into what the other entity is supposed to be working on or thinking about for that employee. Like, what is our main objective for this employee? That they can come in here and manage the business of the utilities. And so, that question of are they living in the community, that seems more of a, not that we can't have an opinion on it, but that seems more of something that the city council as someone that's hiring that person would be saying that they're wanting of their community leader, whereas I don't know, I view our positions on this board as we are a board managing over a utility, which it has a different function in a community than a city council does.
But I think that we take in $84,000 of our citizens' money towards this position, and I think requesting that person to have city residency is not a big deal. If you look at some of these other communities, most of the city administrators live in the town that they serve. So that's where I was getting at.
And we may come to an agreement on that. I'm saying with every topic that we're talking about for this position, like our first objective is can we find somebody for this position that does what we need them to do to manage the business
Yeah,
here and not, I try to separate my thinking between, well,
That's
that's
most
really a
important.
council deal, and I hope they're doing the same thing. That's really a utility deal, and we need to not be thinking of that. Or we need to treat the other entity, if we wanna be treated with, respect as a separate entity that's working with them, then we need to do the same with them as the council. And try not to cross that border, but work with them. So, I'm just saying with any question like that, I try to separate that in my head. Am I thinking of that as a citizen, as a utility board member, or as a council member? And I'm not a council member, I'm sitting here as a board over the utility.
I think we'll have I bet you'll have a lot of good applicants. This is a very well-compensated position, and I bet you there's a lot of people out there looking.
in yesterday, she said that we would be tickled to death with the ones that have applied. So. Anything else?
I think it would be.
So, hold on one second, I got something I'd like to ask you on the agenda, and I checked on this, we're okay to do this.
Okay.
Kim's already done a water treatment plant walkthrough, but there's some improvements that need to be made. And we can do this, it just needs to be posted on the agenda.
Ben's not here.
I'm picturing myself following you all around and taking notes. If there's 3 of you together, it's a quorum.
It's not, I called the Iowa League of Cities, and the
Okay.
gal specifically said,
Steve?
if we're not making decisions, we have a lot of improvements to make at the water treatment plant. So I'd like to see a walkthrough of the treatment plant led by our water super, or our person that's over our water treatment
Water
facility.
superintendent.
Ben,
So,
he's a water superintendent.
Yeah, but he's not here,
Why?
so Pat can do it.
I don't mean tonight.
Oh, okay,
I'm saying for our main meeting, the way it has to be
Come
done.
on, do it tonight, get it over
The
with,
way
I've
it
already
has-
done it.
The way it has to be done according to the Iowa League cities, it has to be posted as the agenda item with the address noted. There's not to be any discussion, obviously, of how, you like this, we should vote for, it's not like that.
Just informational.
Correct.
Okay, I
Yeah.
really like.
So the way you do that is, as you said, you just post an agenda saying, the majority of the council may, elected officials may, majority of the board, remember where I'm at.
Yeah.
Majority of the board is gonna conduct a walkthrough of the water treatment facility at 6 PM on whatever day, and no deliberation will happen, any action.
Correct, yeah, yep.
will
Like
be taken at
entire-
a regular board meeting.
Entire boards or councils go to, conferences and things like that together.
Yeah, that's what we post when we go to the Greater Des Moines Partnership trip.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see,
So Grace was the contact, the Iowa League of Cities, that said the address of the facility should be posted as well, just so there's no.
Just like a meeting.
Correct. And Ben,
Does it have to be open to the public?
That's the question.
that's, does it have to be open to the public, was Dan's question. Like that walkthrough, 30 people wanna do that walkthrough, but they also accompany.
I post a lot of these agendas and nobody shows up, but if a lot of people wanna go through your water treatment plant, I think I'd accommodate them.
That's what's.
Yeah,
that's a
no,
fair
I-
question. It needs to be an open.
Technically an open meeting.
Yeah.
We run across some points where
Yeah.
Pat or Ben, someone will bring up,
But how does that work for like a closed conference, where you pay entry fees and things and everyone goes to it? It's not like the public could just walk in and do that.
True. Well, and typically on those, you're not doing anything that's city business except learning, right, in a conference. So,
Well, you're having lunches and there's small talk type stuff.
most of the time we don't post for those, but.
Right.
Yeah.
so anyway, our experts in the areas, I can't relate to some of the things they may ask for or request, and so this is meant to educate the board and
No, I'd love to do.
give us some front line, and Kim's already done it, so anyway.
You're gonna get a good eye opener, that's all I
Anyway.
gotta say.
So if I could ask for that to be on the May agenda, just the last thing, we gotta do a walkthrough after our meeting. Thanks.
After the regular.
Well, can we pick some other day?
Pick June, I don't care. I'm
Because
just saying, tack it onto our meeting, so it's
maybe, May
be long.
might be long.
Yeah, so let's do June.
So. Anybody else got anything? Adjourn.
Hey, Steve, how are you? Yeah, yeah, it's.
Thank you.
Sure.
What's that?